And today we're continuing our journey in tab settings, Katherine.
That's correct. Yes.
Last time we did external tab settings. This time we're going to take an adventure through internal tab settings.
That's correct. Internal tab settings today. But before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm living, working and creating on the lands of the Kaurna people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and future, and acknowledge their continuing spiritual connection to the lands here. Okay, internal tab setting.
Yeah, could you define what an internal tab setting is then?
Yes, this little sample here might be able to show you what I'm talking about, and then we can do some drawing so it becomes a little bit clearer. So this piece here is just a little sample piece where you can still see the tabs that we had the last time, and they're still coming from the outside of the stone to clamp it in place. But when you flip it over, you discover that they're actually cut out from within the space of the stone. So the base actually determines where you can cut the tabs out. So the tab kind of holes are hidden. So with our external tab setting from last week, or the last time, the tabs were cut out from this outside piece. Here, they're cut out from within the base. And as you can see here, I've cut out another little decorative kind of cutout here, because this one can actually highlight the back. Because the tabs are already going to be cut out, it's worthwhile thinking about how you might utilise the rest of the space, and so cut away things to be able to see and highlight the back of the stone or the piece that you are setting. So that's what we're going to be playing with today.
It's pretty nifty. So how difficult is it to get those tabs cut in the right place, Katherine?
Oh, that is probably the one thing that is more important with this kind of a setup, is accurate cutting and very accurate placement of the tiny little drill holes that I do on the sides of the tabs to help those tabs to be able to fold up. So shall we run through some tools and then we'll
that'd
start?
Be great. Thank you.
All right. So some things that you will need. Of course, you'll need your base metal. So for this one, I'm using some brass because the stone that I'm setting is this lovely kind of hematite bead. So hopefully on the camera, it should come up nice and contrasty so that you guys can see that clearly. But basically any flat-based stone or feature, like maybe a seashell or a piece of enamelled work would work quite well for this. But certainly something flat-based works the easiest and best. You need a little bit of stationary equipment, so a glue stick, a pencil, some paper so that you can do all your designs, some scissors to cut it out, and then something that you can use to mock it up so that you can get those tabs accurate in their length and their placement. So, some thicker kind of cardstock like this, or possibly some aluminium foil or copper shim, that would work quite well. You need a centre punch and a hammer. I'll hold that one up to the other one. Hammer, a big hammer, that can do the punching for your drill holes. And to drill those holes, of course, you need some drill bits. Then will come your sawing. So yeah, a saw frame with a nice sharp saw blade in it. And then you'll be doing some finishing. So for this, I'll be using just my needle files. So yeah, depending on what shape you cut out, having an appropriate shaped file for the job. And then something like some emery sticks in different grits, depending again on what kind of finish that you want to have. Now, something a bit different from last time is you have to be able to push those tabs up. In the other one, it's quite easy. They're on the outside, so you can usually push them up fairly easily. But in this, because they're internal, it might be a bit more difficult. So we've got a couple of tools to help that happen. The first one is a chasing or repoussé tool, chasing tool, with a very, very fine, narrow point on it. So this is one of the line drawing tools in chasing and repoussé. Your other alternative is a very small screwdriver. And in fact, the screwdriver might actually be easier because it hasn't got that nice high polished finish that will make it, it won't slide as easily. Chasing tools are meant to slide across metal, whereas a screwdriver isn't. But trying to find a screwdriver that is that small might be a little bit tricky. I've got a burnisher and a something like a wooden skewer or a wooden chopstick, something like that, something that won't mar your work, to be able to push those tabs up. Then we've got our last two tools for the pushing over. So nylon jaw pliers and a bezel pusher. So this bezel pusher was made for me, and it's actually made out of an old file handle. And it's got a lovely, gently curved face on it, but no sharp edges. And again, highly polished so that it doesn't mar your work. Alrighty, let's do some drawing so that you guys can have a better understanding of what is going on. So, got my pens, got my paper, got my coloured textures here for you guys so that you can see. So when you are designing your piece, you need to think through how those tabs are going to fit into the size of the stone. So one of the best things to do, of course, is exactly the same as last time, is to take your cabochon stone or whatever piece you are making and then trace around it with a fine pencil or even a very, very fine Sharpie marker. Just make sure you don't mark your stone. And you push down and you draw around it. But given that it's a little bit tricky to see the pencil on the screen, I'm going to pretend that I'm doing that with a texture so that you guys can see it. So I'm tracing out my stone. I also need to observe the height of the stone. So the distance from the base to where it starts to curve over so that I know the length of my tabs to make sure that they've got enough room to go over the top. So those two things plus the size of the stone will determine how big my tabs can be. Now, when you're going to be cutting these out, you're going to be kind of cutting out into the space of the tab, the space of the base of the stone. But you have to cut ever so slightly outside because it has to bend. The metal has to bend up and around the stone. So it's going backwards on itself. So if this is the side of the material, of the metal, it's going to be curving up and then around that way. And then that will be your stone sitting in there. So these points here need to be very accurate to make sure that this bend here, there's enough room that accounts for the thickness of the material and the curvature of the tab bend here. So thinking through that kind of position, then you're also thinking about, well, how much space have I got here to make my tabs? So just like last time, your tab position does need to be on spaces that are not the widest part of the stone. So I don't want my, if this is the widest point, this is the widest point, this is the widest point, and this is the widest point, I avoid those areas, because you can imagine that if it's all on the widest point, that stone can just twist and pop out. So you want to kind of enclose it so that those widest points are sticking out, and therefore it's kind of captured in place. So for that, for the nice kind of blue opal piece that I did nice simple shape. I had, this was the widest part, and then across here, so I've captured it in between and up the top. So for an oval stone like this, one of the simplest things would be to do tabs that went like this. Now, if you have a nice large stone like that has quite a low height, then you've got plenty of space to play with that. You'll have no problem being able to get your tabs into place. However, if you've got a small stone that might be oddly shaped, then your tabs might have to do something a little bit different. So we've got our widest positions here. We're avoiding those. We want our tabs to come in here, into these little bits here. But what happens if I need all that length and I'm going to cross over, or it's not, the tabs aren't going to be high enough? I might have to think of a different way of setting this. So for this kind of shape, we might think of different ways of utilising the space that's underneath the base. So what I could do is cut into this area, cut into this area, cut into this area, and cut into this area. So therefore I've got room to create those tabs. So this is one of the things that you do need to think through, is how that's going to work. And it's essential that you have a little bit of a play with some paper and cardboard and your shim to see which kind of setup is going to work. Your other thing is, if these are on a diagonal like this, away from your drill points, how that is then going to fold and capture the stone on the top is important. So if this was the top of the stone, so we're looking at the base here with our cutouts. If we were looking at the top of the stone here, if we cut like this, where will the tabs end up once they fold over? And we still do want them to kind of capture in here so that it's secure. But depending on how we've cut them here, they may end up kind of more out to a side, depending on the fold line between the drill holes here. So there's a few things to consider. Now, one of the other things to think about is how you're going to push those out. And again, if they're tiny, tiny little tabs, it's difficult to push those out. So what you may want to then do is think about, how can I make those cutouts an actual feature? So you may end up kind of still coming from those drill holes, but making this some kind of design to cut out, so that all this space here is cut away, and you can actually end up getting into those tabs to pull them up easily. When you've got the external tabs, they're on the outside, and so it's easy to grab them and fold them up. But when they're internal, it's a little bit trickier. So thinking through how you might cut some of that excess material away. You still need to have enough material for the piece to sit on. So this piece might get cut away, but the stone itself is still going to have that piece to sit on, this piece to sit on, and this piece to sit on. So it still has to have something to sit on. Otherwise, it's just going to fall right through. If you cut the whole thing away, it's got nothing there. So
it's a bit of a mind exercise, Katherine.
Oh, yes. This one does need a little bit more forethought.
So you can see why you need to come up with your theory and then test the theory with your paper and your cardboard.
Exactly. So for my, you might see my very kind of first design here for the, let's get that out of the way. So this is my very first kind of test piece for the blue opal one. And so you can see I played around with the placement of those tabs, had my stone, I could check it, make sure that it was all okay, double checked it in some cardstock, and made sure that that was going to work. And then I redrew that one up, put it on the silver, saw pierced it out, off we go. Now, for the one that I'm going to demonstrate for you guys today, I'm not going to put you through me sawing all over again. You can go back and watch the external tab setting one, and you can see me giving a demonstration of sawing. So what I've done is actually I've already done most of the work, okay? So I've got, I had my original design. Oh gosh, it's so hard to see that pencil. Original design that I've cut out with scissors. I've tested it with the stone. I've popped that in there so I can make sure that those tabs were long enough. I've checked it, made sure it's okay, gone in and did some testing with my, with some cardboard, and then put that on this piece. So what I've already done is I've already cut out, let me see if I can get something a bit pointier. You can see, oh, so hard to get this into focus for you guys.
It can be hard.
Oh, sorry guys. So you might be able to see I've got one tab here and another tab here with some space around it. So there's a bit of air, as it were, around it. And then I've got, hopefully you can see that slightly darker line. So I'm ready to cut the next one. So I've got the tab there, and this whole area in between will be cut. What I've also done is I've cut the whole outside, and I've already finished the edges and the back face, so that you didn't have to see me kind of redoing all those things that we did in the last video. Otherwise, cutting this out, it'd take forever. All right. So,
Catherine, I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome Wayne back. He was with us on our last video.
Hello, Wayne.
And
welcome back.
he did some homework and he was quite pleased with the results. So well done, Wayne.
Oh, Wayne, if you can post them in the comments and, you know, people can see what you did, that would be amazing. I'd love to see what you've created. Alrighty. So what we'll end up with is a template. So because it's so difficult to see this, this piece, I've got the stone, this oval shape. I've got and on this one, I've decided to do something a little bit different for you guys so that you could see a different shape and not just, the normal oval kind of rounded tabs. I've got my points where I'm going to put my drill in. And this time, I've done little triangles. So a triangular tab setting. Your tabs do not have to be ovals, or kind of rounded rectangles. They can be any shape you like that can fit in the shape of the stone. So I've done, little triangular ones like that. Then I've done the cutout. And I've created just, some echoing the shape of the outside, just some kind of shapes like this to, accentuate the fact that the design element on the outside is this kind of random starburst, sunburst kind of shape on the outside. Also, of course, you need to think through how you're going to join this to another, how it's going to hang or how it's going to, go onto a ring or anything like that. If it's going to go onto a ring, of course, you're possibly going to lose some of that information on the back. As a pendant, of course, that will be against the body, but it's still there. But for this one, what I decided to do was create a featured bail. So instead of, again, like last time, we had the bail as part of the design. For this one, I've created a little piece like this, and that piece will actually end up being shaped like that and riveted onto my material. And then the stone will be sitting here with the tabs there's one, there's another, and then there'll be a little, I'm running out of colours, oh my goodness. There'll be a little rivet, chink, chink, through the middle here. And again, you won't see me doing all the riveting. There's another video for riveting, so you can go check out that video and see that kind of how riveting works. All right, so shall we do some of the technical stuff? Does all this make sense to people now? That hopefully that's all getting the right information across about how you need to think through the design process. All right, let's get to our...
Just while you're setting up there, Catherine, I'd like to welcome on board also Robert and Dawn. Thanks for introducing yourselves today, and to all the others who are out there watching.
Thank you, Robert and Dawn. Welcome.
If you've got any comments or questions on where we've gone so far, please pop them through. And now we're going to get into the real thing.
All right. So we are one of the first things we need to do is to get those drill holes accurate. So on this piece, my drill holes are here and here, here and here. So I've already done one. I'll do the second one as part of this demonstration. So right off the bat, getting even your center punch as accurately as possible is really important. So let's put that there so you can see. And you want this center punch to be ever so slightly outside the circumference of the stone, because you've got to allow for that bend. So I'm going to put that there, and hopefully I don't knock the camera off its stand.
Oh.
And just a single blow just to get that correct. Okay, second one. The other two. Now, once again, I have already annealed this metal. But for many of you guys, you'd be able to do all your cutting, drilling, etc. on non-annealed metal, and then anneal it afterwards so that your metal is easy to kind of maneuver. Okay, so I've got my little center punched holes here. Now I need to drill them out. So you don't want too big a drill hole for this unless you want to make those holes a feature. But I'm just going with something that's kind of, small enough to do the job of getting my saw blade in, but it's not going to detract from the design. So I use a micromotor. That's the kind of one of the easiest things to use drilling, because you can use one hand to clamp your thing, clamp your piece with your fingers, and then you've got a free hand. Right, let's turn him on, and fortunately, this one is not too loud. Alrighty, so place your drill bit in your center punched hole. And because this is a 0.6 mil drill bit, you don't want to push hard. You want to let the drill bit do its job. You push too hard and snap, there goes your drill bit. Give it a little clean out each time so that there's no swath in the drill bit. And you know your drill bit is working when you can see like little, those nice little curls of metal coming out. And you do want to try and make sure that you're going through straight. Now, because I've got my bench peg on an angle, my drill bit needs to be at that same angle, so it's going through. The metal that I'm using today, being brass, because it's a kind of a harder, tougher metal, I've gone a little bit thinner. So this one is 0.5 mil thick. It's going to be a pendant, so it's not going to cop as much banging and knocking around as a ring would. But it also means that it's thin enough that I can maneuver those tabs fairly easily. All right, so I've got my little drill holes now. Now we need to saw out that last little section there. But again, because it's internal, we've got to start sawing from inside, not from the outside of the metal. So those drill holes help us because we can insert our piece onto our saw blade. So what I do is I loosen off the bottom, the bottom screw, slide my piece on, get it to up the top, then reinsert it, press in against my sternum, tighten up and loosen off. And then while it's there, a little bit of lubricant for the back of the blade. And again, nice accurate sawing for this bit. And I'm going to move my earphone cord out of the way. So because you've got that little drill hole, it's actually usually quite easy to get started because it's already kind of captured in something that's, that's already a dint. So it's usually not too bad to get started from a drill hole. But again, nice full strokes using the whole length of the blade, straight up and down. Sometimes you might need to blow some of the kind of the metal sawdust, as it were, metal dust away so that you can still see your lines. When you get to a corner, kind of still move your saw blade up and down, but move the piece. Down the back stretch of this one. And yeah, as long as your blade is nice and sharp, you shouldn't have to press very hard at all. The blade will do the work. And it should make this kind of just nice, natural sawing sound. If it's too high pitched or it's, then something's wrong. So normally it'll be something like either the blade is too loose or you're pressing too hard. But if you just get this, hopefully you can hear that, but just this nice, it's just this nice sound. Okay, I'm now into that other drill hole on the other side. And now I'm going to, because that drill hole is nice and big, you should be able to just turn your piece around. Oh, it's caught on the other side. Let's go that way. Okay, and line up to cut out that first tab. Now, because I've made these triangles though, what I'm not going to do is try and turn around on that point. Because I've got another way of getting into that, I'm just going to cut to that point and then I'm going to move that blade back to the drill hole, undo my bottom screw, and actually take that out. So then I can insert into another drill hole to finish those pieces off. So again, insert into the hole, slide up, reinsert into the bottom screw, press in, tighten, and release so that you've got a nice tight blade. And then that gentle pressure.
Katherine, it's like a steam train locomotive just chugging its way through the countryside.
That's exactly right. Yes.
It is a nice sound.
It should be, it should be this pleasant sound. Yeah. Okay, that one is done. I'm going to go back to that second drill hole and then I can do the base of the like cutaway. So I've glued my design on, and if you guys know anything about glue with metal, I glued it on yesterday to do the outside bits and that other bit, the other cutout, and of course overnight the glue goes a little bit dry, so the paper is just fractionally beginning to peel off the metal on the back. So yeah, I do find that it's always good to do all your cutouts in one go just after you've glued it. That seems to be the way that it stays on the best when you're using a glue stick. Okay, down into that other point, into my drill. Into my drill hole. Turn around within that drill hole. And up to the point on the very first tab. Oh, and that paper's moving so badly now. And go up to that point. And then we'll do one more cut. Insert into the hole. And that will do the final side of the tab, the first tab. Alrighty, flip over. Again, loosen off the bottom screw, insert, slide up, tighten, and release. And we've got one last little bit to go before we lose the paper off the piece. Now, a little hint, if you want that kind of really nice, accurate point at the end, then moving your piece up so that the blade is actually going to, oh, you can see the paper's actually come off. So I can actually now see the end of the saw piercing from the previous cut. Moving the piece up so that your blade is actually going to cut into your bench peg. And that gives a much cleaner finish to that point. There we go. And hopefully you heard that little piece popping out.
We did.
And then we've got this nice kind of patterned cutout here ready to go for our tabs. Now, this next, the next bit that we're going to do, depending on what tool you've got, can determine when you do this next stage. I'm actually going to do it now before I take this paper off, because the hope is that the paper is going to hold my chasing tool a little bit more securely than if I was just doing metal on metal, because it's a chasing tool and chasing tools are meant to slide across metal. We don't want that. We just want an imprint. And what we're doing is we are actually so I've got my I've got my tab, I've got my drill holes here, I've got the shape around it, got another drill hole here, tab, drill hole here, and the cutout. What I'm trying to do is actually create a little score line. So I want to create a line straight across where in between those two drill holes. And if you've done any like paper crafting or anything, you know that when you do a score line in a piece of cardboard, it folds so much nicer and more crisply. So what we're doing here is kind of creating the same effect. The score line will help us make sure that our fold folds nicely and a little bit cleaner. So rather than getting a fold like that, hopefully we get a fold that's a little bit cleaner and smaller. A tighter radius. But accuracy is really important here, because if you do your fold line here or you do your fold line here, then it's not going to fold where you want it to fold. So being accurate is important. Okay, let's get that out of the road.
It was very well explained. Thank you, Katherine.
Excellent. So where's my chasing tool? All right. Now this is going to be difficult for me because I would normally have my head right over the top of this. But let's see if I can hold that in place. Excuse me while I get down really low because I'm blind.
That's all right.
Okay, that's where I want it. And then, yep. Oh. Oh no, that's okay. I was like, oh no, I've cut it completely off. It's the paper that came off. And of course, you only want it to be the kind of width of between the drill holes. So again, getting something that is the right size is really helpful. So then you may end up designing your tabs around the tool that you have. Make sure that the tabs at that point are as wide as the screwdriver or the chasing tool that you have. All right. Now I've put those dents in, and now we can remove the paper. So normally I'd take it over to the sink, but I've just got a little bowl of water off camera here, little bowl of water to get that off. And dilute that glue so it's not all sticky and yucky. And just a little piece of paper to dry that off. We don't want any water on our steel tools.
So just a couple of comments from our viewers, Katherine.
Yep.
Robert has said, has anyone heard of blades that you can use that you don't have to change the direction of the blade? You can saw in any direction. Someone commented it could be nano blades. Have you heard of those?
Saw in any direction.
No, that's okay. We're going to investigate that further.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, like spiral blades for wax cutting.
Yep, that's the comment that Dawn made. So, yep, she's on the same path as you.
Yep. But that you would still have the problem of you've then got to change how your hand is sawing. So yeah, not too sure on that one. Even when I use spiral blades, it's still that outside face that is doing the cutting.
And
Interesting.
Orietta made a comment about she uses packing tape to transfer her drawings onto metal.
Oh, that's a good idea. Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, when they, sometimes silver and many metals will come with a plastic protective coating. So some people will just draw straight onto that coating because it's there, it's easy, yeah. So yes, let's have a look at that. So now, you can hopefully, it just doesn't want to go into focus, does it? I don't know how to fix that. Yeah. So anyway, we've got, on each one, our 2 little drill holes with that little score line in between. So we've got our 4 tabs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, with a background piece through the middle and the top and the bottom for that stone to rest on. Okay, this is where you want to do any finishing. So I've already sanded the back face. I have cleaned up the edges on the outside. Now it's time to do some finishing of these edges and this other face. So if you have a wonderful tool called a barrette file, this is, if you have to get any files, half round and a barrette. Oh, okay, so a barrette file has a flat face on one side, which has the cutting surface, the file surface, but on the back it has like a triangle shape, and it has no file on that shape, which means it doesn't cut into anything else as you're going. So for something like this, that's going to be quite handy. So it means that I can, I can file on this inside edge here. And of course, remember, only the forward stroke does the cutting. I can, go right up to the edges without fear that I'll be filing into the side edge and creating a whole new shape. So barrette files are fantastic, but sometimes barrette files won't fit in everywhere that you want it to. So even in this little corner here, I can't quite get in to that, into the point, into the corner. If you've got micromotors, sometimes some of the polishing discs and abrasive wheels, they might be able to get into some spaces to clean off things and give them a nice finish. So if you've got different tools, they can use the tools that you have to do the job. Another idea is actually to take a long piece of sandpaper, long and skinny, fold it along the long edge so that you've got a long folded piece, and insert it in your saw frame. So you've essentially got a blade, in inverted commas, it's made out of sandpaper. So that can get right into very, very small areas. So that's another option. But finishing the way that you want it to be finished. So you might have heard me say I'm not a high polish girl. I like a little bit of texture, roughness. I like a matte finish rather than a high polished finish. So I tend to, use sandpaper, satin wheels, and files to create that kind of texture that I like. All right, so I've got one side done. Quickly do the other side, so filing away. Cleaning up those saw marks. And of course, as you get more and more practiced, and your sawing becomes more accurate, the less kind of cleanup or fixing you have to do. So yeah, with these outside edges, all of them were nice and fairly straight cut, so I didn't have to fix them with the filing to get them straight. So that's just practice. There was one lady last time that said it was, she found it very meditative, very, she really enjoyed it. And yeah, it is. Once you get into the zone, as it were, it can become a very nice practice to saw. All right, just about finished there. Okay, so I've finished the inside edges. Now we'll clean up the face. So what I've used on the back, I'm going to use on the front as well, and that's just some 120 grit sandpaper. And that gives a nice kind of, brushed, scratched look. And because it's so small, I'm just holding it in my fingers. But sometimes, people might like to sticky tape the piece to their hand and go the opposite way. So completely up to you how you do that, what's easiest for you. Now, this is a good way to test whether your piece is flat because you might be able to see my sandpaper is only reaching those outside edges, and that means that like when I did those dents with the chasing tool, I've actually ever so slightly distorted the piece. So that, of course, is going to be problematic for setting the stone. So what I'm going to do is I will then bring in a block like this, and I don't know if you can see, you can see slight shadows from underneath. I know that middle bit is sitting just up a bit. So on a metal block, a rubber or a rawhide mallet, and as long as it's annealed, I can hammer that back down so that it's flat again. Sorry for the banging, guys. And hopefully now, when I sand, oh yes, look, it connects with a lot more of the metal. So yes, you might want to polish it or get it really nice and nice and high shine. But for the purpose of the video today, something quick and easy like this is a little bit more doable for a demonstration. Hopefully the AJS will have a nice polishing video on different ways of polishing.
We'll have to work on that one, Katherine.
Yeah. All right. So that's...
Do you want to show the piece to this camera here, the one you're looking at now? Just see if it makes a difference.
Yeah, let's see if that works. Oh, it focuses on me. I don't want you to focus on me. If I put it in front of my face.
You're the star, I suppose.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
All right. So now we need to do that tricky bit of bending the pieces up, bending those tabs up. Now, ideally, I want to use my nylon pliers because they're not going to mar my tabs. But can I get in And this is one of the problems. You may not be able to. So if that doesn't work, what you could do is use more like chain nose pliers that can get in, but they have the potential of marring your work. So I don't know if anybody's shown you guys this little trick, but you can use masking tape and just put a little bit of masking tape around the nose of your pliers, yeah, to protect them a little bit. I think I've got the worst masking tape on the planet. Oh, it just rips and tears. So yeah, I'm just putting a little bit around those nose area there. Wrapping around. And if these can't get in, then again, you need another solution. And that's when like a burnisher or or a chopstick, something like that, will be of benefit. So if this can get in, that's hardly getting in. So we'll do the burnisher trick. So again, hopefully something that is not going to mar your metal. So for here, I will actually go from the opposite side and I'll use, the rounded part of the burnisher to push these tabs just up ever so slightly. So I'm using my fingers to kind of protect the rest of the work. And hopefully you will only need just a little bit of movement to pull them up. The other thing you can use is your own thumbnail. Like once it's up high enough and you can get in underneath, your fingernail might be enough to lever it up. So that then your pliers can get in underneath. We'll just use the burnisher to do the first initial push. And this is where that score line will help because it will want to fold on that score line. Nice one. Okay, get the fingernail right under and right into that.
We don't want to see any blood, Catherine.
Yeah, I've definitely made a pointy enough design, haven't I? Me. Okay. And now I'm going to just lever each one up. Okay, and then I'll get in with my pliers. Now I've got a lot more room. So with the pliers, I want the very, very end to be right along that fold line so that it can fold along the score line and not have that turn in it. And I want to turn it up to 90 degrees. And this is where the parallel pliers are handy. As I said last time. Sorry, I'm bringing this up to my eyes so I can see.
That's right.
Yes, right along that score line so that they sit at a nice 90-degree angle. Alrighty, we've got these kind of 4 prongs, sitting up away from the base. All right, now this is where we want to test that we've actually got them right. And this is the kind of scariest time, I think. Have I got those in the right place? And yes, we do. Yay.
Hey.
Always a good feeling when your stone fits nice and you don't want too much movement. So yeah, that's a good fit. It's not moving much at all. Yeah, we've done well. And if you can see, if I hold it up this way, you can see that there's just enough of the tab above the line of the curve of the stone to be able to bend over and capture that stone. If they're too short, they're just going to sit on the side, your piece will fall out. Too long, you can file them down or anything, you can fix that. Or you might want them nice and long as part of your design. Okay, now, while these are sticking up in the air, you can do one more little thing here. If you want to, you can file these thinner to make it a little bit more elegant. So, you know, you might want something kind of bold and, yeah, chunky that might work with your design. So you can see on this piece here that, yeah, the width of the tabs of these, I think this was about 0.6 mil sterling silver. They're quite obvious, but it works with that design. They don't look out of place or, yeah. But you might want to make them a little bit more elegant, a bit softer. So you can, at this point, file each one of those off. And I'll do that for this one so that at least you guys can see something that's a little bit different. So again, I'm using my barrette file. And I'm going to sand those, file off the ends. So I'm tapering the point.
So you're making that metal thinner. Is that what you're
That's
doing?
right. Yep. So yes, I've taken that from 0.5 now down to maybe 0.3 possibly. And again, I don't know whether you're going to see that on the camera. But yeah. Yeah, take my word for it. It's gone a little bit thinner. All right. So I'll just do, and what might be worth kind of remembering is how many strokes did I do? And do exactly the same for each one, so that you know that they're going to be all a similar thickness. So yeah, I'm placing them like just on the edge of my bench peg so that the tab is supported. I'm using my barrette file again so that I don't mark my work, like mark the base plate, but only thinning out the tab. It's a little bit more. So it's still thick at the base because we don't want to, create a weak join where it's bending. But yeah, we're just tapering off the very tip. Have we got any more questions while we're...
We could solicit those. So if our viewers do have any comments or questions, please fire them away in the comments section.
Yeah, one more to go. And of course, you guys would know that there are, different kind of grades or grits of file. So you could, if you've got a variety of grades, you can go down the grades so that you don't end up with the scratch marks from the file in your tabs. Alrighty, that's looking pretty good. And then if you want to clean those up in some way. So I'm just going to do a couple of strokes, being careful that I focus on the tabs and don't let the sandpaper touch the base, because otherwise that'll affect the finish that I've already put there. Around all four. All right, we're looking pretty good. So we've got that looking nice and clean. Those tabs, each one is a little bit thinner on the top. Our stone can go in. It's fitting quite nicely. And now we come to our setting. Now, not everybody may not have a bezel pusher that they can use. You could actually use something else. So, yeah, you could use the end of your sanding stick to do this. And use a piece of wood to push it up. And I've also heard of people using like the clamp on their ring clamp, the stopper from their ring clamp, and using that, because that's got a curved, or some of them have a curved face. So that could be another thing. If you don't have a bezel pusher, like a little piece of wood would do the job. Because of course you do have to be aware that this being metal could end up marring your work. So yeah, being nice and controlled. So we are going to start at, for example, 12 o'clock on a clock. And we're going to start from the base and push up and over. But then we want to actually go to the opposite side. So we're now going to 6 o'clock to set the next one, so that helps the stone remain in place. And so I'm clamping down and pushing from the base and rocking over the top. So now we go 3 o'clock. And then 9 o'clock. All right. So those have actually all, like thinning out that metal has made that quite like easy to push over. And so that's all quite seated quite well. Now, one of the things you can do to check it is listen to it. If it rattles, you know that there's a bit of movement somewhere. So yeah, investigate, find out where is something not touching, and where does it need to go down. So, okay, I can see one is just got a little bit of air underneath it. So we'll push that one down again. Make that a little bit more secure. A little bit more movement. And just give them all a little bit more of a secure. Alrighty. And there we go. Set.
You got rid of the rattle?
Rid of the rattle. Yes, we've got a hematite stone set in a sunburst piece of brass. So hopefully that's, they're very shiny, aren't they? Oh, hematite is reflecting very well. Straight into my lamp up there.
A job well done. Thank you, Katherine.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So what do our viewers think of that? if they can give a comment to Katherine, that'd be great.
And then, as I said, yeah, I've got this little bail that I prepared earlier, and I'll rivet that on to finish the piece and make it into a pendant. So I won't bore you with that. There's a whole other video that you can watch on riveting. So I've got my wire and yeah, the bail ready to go. Thank you so much, everybody. Yes, if you've got any questions or comments, yeah, let me know and we can hopefully answer them while you guys are here.
I'm just trying to get your other camera up, but I just can't seem to do it. So Dawn gave you a big love heart and she said, great technique. Tracy said, thank you so much. So thank you.
Thank you, Dawn and Tracy. Just trying to think if there's any other hints and tips I can think of for this one.
And Orietta said, move to Melbourne and run training courses.
Thank you so much. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you. Or everybody, move to Adelaide. Come here.
Indeed. Yeah. I'm just having some technical difficulties with moving the cameras around. So
don't you love technology? Oh.
Anyway,
I don't
Katherine,
know about anybody else, but I wish I had a little technician in my cupboard for all the dramas that I have with technology. It's like, you know, IT Dave, could you come out and just fix this for me? Put him back in the cupboard.
Yeah. So, Katherine, thank you so much for coming on board again today and giving us that little tour through internal tab settings. I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot both today and in the future.
Excellent.
And we look forward to having you back another time real soon.
Yes, the next time I'll be back, we will be doing lateral tab setting. So this, again, a third way of doing tabs. While internal and external tabs usually sit very flush against the stone, lateral tabs sit up away from the stone. So yes, pop back in for that one. I think, did we schedule something September, October? But we'll be back.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
No worries. Thank you very much, Katherine. Thanks, everybody, for being on board. And thanks to those who were here with us, including Wayne, Robert, Dawn, Orietta, Trevor, Tracy. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.